The galaxy was vast, filled with countless civilizations that thrived among the stars. Some were peaceful, others aggressive, but none paid much attention to Earth, a small blue planet tucked away in a quiet corner of the Milky Way. To most extraterrestrial species, humanity was nothing more than an afterthought, a primitive race still struggling to understand its own place in the universe. That is, until one fateful day when everything changed. It began without warning. The skies darkened as massive alien ships descended from space, blotting out the sun over major cities around the globe. These vessels weren't sleek or shiny like something out of science fiction movies. They were brutal, industrial-looking machines bristling with weapons and glowing with ominous energy fields. People stared up at them in awe and terror, unsure whether to marvel at their sheer size or run for cover. Then came the message, a cold, mechanical voice broadcasted across every radio station, television channel, and internet platform on Earth. It spoke in perfect English, though it carried no trace of emotion. "Attention, inhabitants of this world," it said. "You have been deemed unworthy of self-governance by the Dominion. Surrender your planet immediately or face total annihilation." At first, many thought it was some kind of elaborate prank or movie promotion, but as the hours passed and the ships remained hovering ominously above, reality set in. This wasn't fiction. It was real. Humanity had just received its first contact with intelligent life beyond Earth, and it wasn't friendly. Panic spread like wildfire. Streets emptied as people rushed home to be with loved ones. The governments convened emergency meetings, scrambling to figure out how to respond. Military forces mobilized, deploying fighter jets and missiles in a desperate attempt to defend against the invaders. But none of it mattered. Every weapon fired at the alien ships bounced harmlessly off their impenetrable shields. Tanks, planes, even nuclear warheads, all useless. For the first time in history, humanity found itself completely powerless. As chaos reigned on the ground, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unlikely source. Deep within a secluded mountain facility, a former naval strategist who had spent years preparing for scenarios exactly like this stepped forward. Once dismissed as paranoid, this individual had spent decades theorizing about what humanity might do if faced with an existential threat from space. Their work culminated in a secret project known only as Black Armada, a contingency plan so ambitious that it bordered on madness. Years earlier, while serving as part of a top-secret government task force, this strategist had pieced together fragments of information gleaned from classified reports. Decades before, during the mid-20th century, several unidentified flying objects had crashed on Earth. While most were quickly covered up, a few yielded technological breakthroughs that hinted at possibilities far beyond human understanding. Reverse engineering these artifacts led to advancements in material science, propulsion systems, and energy generation. Advancements that were quietly funneled into a shadowy program designed to protect Earth from future threats. Black Armada wasn't just a theoretical exercise. Hidden beneath the ocean floors, engineers had secretly constructed an entire fleet of experimental warships. These vessels weren't built using conventional methods. Instead, they incorporated alien-inspired designs combined with cutting-edge human innovation. Plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, cloaking devices, all of it existed, waiting patiently for the day it would be needed. And now that day had arrived. But activating the Black Armada wouldn't be easy. The ships were scattered across multiple underwater bases, each requiring precise coordination to bring online. Worse still, the Dominion's surveillance capabilities meant any large-scale movement risked tipping them off. If the aliens discovered what humanity was planning, they could strike preemptively, destroying the fleet before it ever saw action. Despite these challenges, leaders agreed there was no other choice. With traditional defenses rendered obsolete, the Black Armada represented humanity's last, best hope for survival. Orders were issued, resources allocated, and teams dispatched to begin assembling the fleet. Meanwhile, intelligence operatives worked tirelessly to gather information about the invaders. What they uncovered painted a grim picture. The Dominion wasn't just another empire looking to expand its territory. They were systematic conquerors, methodically stripping conquered worlds of resources and leaving behind barren wastelands. Worse yet, their interest in Earth wasn't random. Buried deep within the planet's crust lay an ancient artifact of unknown origin, something that predated humanity by millions of years. The Dominion believed this relic held the key to unlocking unimaginable power. And they weren't going to leave without it. With time running out, the pressure mounted. Engineers worked around the clock, welding hull plates, calibrating engines, and arming weapon systems. Pilots trained relentlessly, learning to operate the advanced controls of the Black Armada's ships. Strategists pored over star charts, plotting courses and devising tactics to outmaneuver the enemy. Everyone involved knew the stakes. Failure meant not just defeat, but extinction. And then finally the moment came. The first wave of the Black Armada was ready to launch. As the countdown began, tension crackled through the air. Would the ships hold together? Could humanity truly stand toe-to-toe with beings from another world? No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain: Earth wasn't going down without a fight. When the order was given, the fleet surged upward from the depths of the oceans, breaking through the surface in a spectacle of power and defiance. Sleek black hulls glistened under the moonlight as the ships ascended into the sky, heading straight for the alien blockade. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to believe that victory might actually be possible. This was more than just a battle. It was a statement, a declaration that even the smallest, weakest species could rise up and challenge those who sought to dominate them. The Black Armada wasn't just a fleet, it was a symbol of hope, determination, and the unyielding spirit of humankind. And as it prepared to engage the Dominion, the entire world watched, holding its breath, praying for a miracle. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, and where sunlight couldn't reach and the pressure could crush the steel, lay one of humanity's greatest secrets. Hidden in underwater shipyards carved into the seabed were marvels of engineering that defied belief. These weren't ordinary ships. They were sleek, black warships unlike anything ever seen on Earth. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, built not just to sail but to soar through space itself. This was Project Black Armada, a desperate gamble born out of paranoia and necessity, a plan so audacious it had been laughed off as science fiction when first proposed. Decades earlier, fragments of alien technology had fallen into human hands. Crashed UFOs recovered from remote deserts and frozen wastelands revealed glimpses of advanced systems far beyond anything humanity could produce at the time. Scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer these artifacts, piecing together their secrets bit by bit. What emerged was revolutionary: propulsion systems capable of bending gravity, energy shields that could repel even the most devastating attacks, and weapons powered by forces humanity barely understood. But this knowledge came with a price. The materials required to build such machines were rare and expensive, and constructing them demanded secrecy. So the decision was made to hide the project under the waves. Massive underwater facilities were constructed, shielded from prying eyes and protected by layers of security. Over the years, engineers labored in silence, assembling the fleet piece by painstaking piece. Every bolt tightened, every circuit soldered, carried the weight of humanity's survival. Yet for all its promise, the Black Armada remained untested. Until now, it had existed only as a theoretical safeguard against an alien threat no one truly believed would come. But now the threat wasn't theoretical anymore. The Dominion loomed above Earth, their massive ships casting ominous shadows over cities and towns. Their ultimatum echoed in the minds of everyone involved in the project: surrender or die. For the strategists, engineers, and crew members working around the clock to bring the Black Armada online, failure wasn't an option. If the fleet failed, humanity would be erased from existence. Activating the Black Armada wasn't as simple as flipping a switch. The ships were scattered across multiple underwater bases, each requiring precise coordination to launch. Powering up the reactors alone took hours, and syncing the advanced systems on board was a delicate process prone to errors. Any mistake could render a ship useless, or worse, cause it to explode. Meanwhile, the Dominion's surveillance drones patrolled the skies, scanning for signs of resistance. One wrong move, and the entire operation could be exposed. To make matters worse, the invaders weren't idle. Intelligence operatives intercepted communications between the alien ships, revealing chilling details about their plans. The Dominion hadn't come to conquer Earth for its resources, at least not entirely. Deep within the planet's crust lay something ancient, something buried long before humanity walked upright. It was an artifact of unknown origin, radiating faint energy signals that hinted at unimaginable power. The Dominion believed this relic held the key to unlocking technologies that could reshape the galaxy. They wouldn't leave without it, even if it meant wiping out every living thing on Earth to get it. This revelation sent shockwaves through command centers worldwide. Not only did humanity have to defend itself from annihilation, but it also had to protect the mysterious artifact from falling into enemy hands. Failure on either front would spell disaster. With stakes this high, leaders authorized the full activation of the Black Armada, despite knowing the risks. Every available resource was poured into the effort, from raw materials to manpower. Engineers worked non-stop, fueled by adrenaline and sheer willpower. Pilots trained relentlessly, learning to navigate the complex controls of the alien-inspired vessels. Strategists pored over star charts and battle simulations, trying to anticipate every possible scenario. Amidst the chaos, a small team of operatives embarked on a daring mission. Their task was to infiltrate the Dominion's communication network and gather critical intelligence. Using hacked frequencies and stolen codes, they managed to tap into the aliens' internal chatter. What they discovered was both horrifying and enlightening. The Dominion viewed humanity as little more than pests, an annoyance to be exterminated quickly and efficiently. They had no idea that Earth harbored a secret weapon capable of challenging their dominance. The information gleaned from these transmissions proved invaluable. It revealed weak points in the Dominion's defenses, patterns in their patrol routes, and vulnerabilities in their shield technology. Armed with this knowledge, the strategists devised a bold plan. Instead of launching a direct assault, which would almost certainly result in failure, they decided to strike surgically. The goal was to hit hard and fast, targeting key ships in the enemy fleet while minimizing casualties on both sides. Speed and stealth would be crucial. If the Black Armada could catch the Dominion off guard, they might stand a chance. As preparations neared completion, tension mounted. Crew members aboard the ships exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they'd live to see another sunrise. Engineers triple-checked every system, leaving nothing to chance. Leaders huddled in secure bunkers, finalizing strategies and contingency plans. Everyone knew what was at stake. Well, this wasn't just about saving Earth. It was about proving that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Finally, the moment arrived. Reactors hummed to life as the ships prepared for launch. Stealth systems engaged, masking their heat signatures and making them invisible to the Dominion sensors. One by one, the vessels ascended from their underwater layers, breaking through the surface in a display of raw power. Sleek, black hulls glistened in the moonlight as the fleet rose higher, heading toward the alien blockade. For the first time since the invasion began, hope flickered in the hearts of those watching below. On board the lead ship, the commander stood silently, staring out at the horizon. Behind them lay Earth, a fragile, beautiful world teetering on the brink of destruction. Ahead loomed the Dominion, and a force that had crushed countless civilizations before turning its gaze to humanity. The odds were stacked heavily against them, but the commander felt no fear, only determination. Humanity had endured hardships before, wars, plagues, natural disasters, and somehow always found a way to survive. This time would be no different. As the Black Armada approached the enemy fleet, the tension was palpable. Weapon systems armed themselves automatically, targeting locks snapping into place. Cloaking devices shimmered, rendering the ships nearly invisible. Pilots gripped their controls tightly, ready to execute maneuvers that pushed the limits of physics. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the signal to engage. When the order finally came, it was swift and decisive. The lead ship fired first, unleashing a barrage of plasma torpedoes that tore through the Dominion's outer defenses. Shields flared and collapsed, exposing the vulnerable hulls beneath. Alien fighters scrambled to respond, but they were too slow. The Black Armada moved like ghosts, striking with precision and disappearing before retaliation could land. For the first time in recorded history, humanity fought back, not with brute force, but with strategy, ingenuity, and courage. The Dominion, caught completely off guard, reeled from the unexpected assault. Their arrogance had blinded them to the possibility that such primitive beings could pose a threat. Now they paid the price for underestimating their opponent. Back on Earth, news of the counterattack spread like wildfire. People gathered around televisions and radios, watching grainy footage of the battle unfold in real time. Cheers erupted as reports confirmed that the Black Armada had inflicted significant damage on the enemy fleet. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to believe that victory might actually be possible, but the fight was far from over. The Dominion still outnumbered the Black Armada, and reinforcements were on the way. The initial success was a morale boost, but it also raised the stakes. If humanity faltered now, the consequences would be catastrophic. As the surviving ships regrouped and prepared for the next phase of the battle, one truth became clear. The road ahead would be long and bloody, but for the first time, humanity faced it not as victims, but as warriors. The night the Black Armada launched will forever be etched in humanity's collective memory. It wasn't just a military operation. It was an act of defiance, a declaration that Earth would not go quietly into the void. As the sleek black warships ascended from the depths of the oceans and pierced through the atmosphere, they carried with them the hopes and fears of billions. For the first time since the Dominion's arrival, humanity had taken the fight to the invaders, and what followed was nothing short of extraordinary. The initial engagement began under the cover of darkness. The lead ship of the Black Armada, equipped with state-of-the-art stealth technology, slipped past the Dominion's orbital blockade undetected. Its mission was clear: strike hard and fast, targeting key vessels in the enemy fleet before they could react. When the order came, the ship unleashed a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes. Each projectile streaked across the void like a comet, leaving trails of fiery light in its wake. One by one, the torpedoes slammed into the shields of the Dominion cruisers, overwhelming their defenses and tearing through their hulls. Explosions lit up the sky as alien ships erupted in bursts of flame and debris. The sight was both horrifying and awe-inspiring, a reminder of the destructive power wielded by both sides. But for those watching from Earth, it was a moment of triumph. Cheers erupted in cities around the globe as news of the successful attack spread. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to believe that victory might actually be possible. Yet amidst the celebrations, the crew aboard the Black Armada knew better than to let their guard down. The battle was far from over. While the surprise assault had caught the Dominion off guard, it also served as a wake-up call. The aliens quickly regrouped, deploying swarms of fighter drones to counterattack. These small, agile craft darted through space like insects, firing energy beams that crackled against the Black Armada's shields. Pilots aboard the human ships responded with equal ferocity, unleashing salvos of missiles and laser fire in return. The resulting dogfights were chaotic and breathtaking. A dazzling display of skill and strategy played out against the backdrop of the stars. Despite the intensity of the fighting, the Black Armada held its ground. Every ship in the fleet was a marvel of engineering, designed not only to withstand punishment, but to dish it out tenfold. Their plasma cannons fired continuous streams of superheated energy, slicing through enemy formations with surgical precision. Quantum disruptors created localized distortions in space-time, throwing Dominion fighters off course and rendering their weapons ineffective. Even the cloaking devices proved invaluable, allowing ships to vanish from view at critical moments, only to reappear behind enemy lines and deliver crippling blows. But perhaps the most impressive feature of the Black Armada was its adaptability. Unlike traditional naval fleets, which relied on rigid hierarchies and pre-planned tactics, the human ships operated with fluidity and creativity. Commanders communicated seamlessly, sharing real-time data and coordinating maneuvers with split-second timing. If one ship found itself overwhelmed, others swooped in to provide support, forming impromptu formations that maximized their combined firepower. This flexibility caught the Dominion completely off guard. Used to crushing resistance with brute force, they struggled to keep up with the unpredictable tactics employed by the Black Armada. As the battle raged on, intelligence operatives continued to monitor the Dominion's communications. What they discovered sent shockwaves through command centers worldwide. The artifact buried deep within Earth crust, the very reason the Dominion had come, wasn't just a relic of ancient origin. It was a weapon, or at least it had the potential to become one. According to intercepted transmissions, the Dominion believed activating the artifact would grant them unparalleled power, enough to dominate not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. If they succeeded in retrieving it, there would be no stopping them. This revelation added urgency to the fight. Every second the Black Armada kept the Dominion occupied was another second gain for Earth's scientists and engineers, who were working tirelessly to secure the artifact and prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Time was running out, and everyone involved knew it. The pressure mounted, pushing crews to their limits. Exhaustion set in, but so did determination. No one wanted to be the one who let humanity down. Back on Earth, the impact of the battle was felt everywhere. News outlets broadcast live footage of the conflict, showing grainy images of explosions and flashes of light in the night sky. People gathered in public squares, staring upward as if hoping to catch a glimpse of the ships themselves. Social media buzzed with speculation and hope, and as ordinary citizens shared stories of resilience and courage. In schools, workplaces, and homes, conversations turned to the Black Armada not just as a fleet of warships, but as a symbol of humanity's refusal to surrender. For the strategists overseeing the operation, the challenge was balancing aggression with caution. While the initial success of the Black Armada was undeniable, they couldn't afford to grow complacent. The Dominion still outnumbered them, and reinforcements were en route from other sectors of the galaxy. Intelligence reports indicated that a massive mothership was approaching, bristling with enough firepower to level continents. If it arrived before the Black Armada could cripple the existing fleet, the tide of the battle could shift dramatically. Knowing this, the commander of the Black Armada made a bold decision. Rather than retreating to regroup, they pressed the advantage, launching a series of coordinated strikes aimed at further weakening the Dominion's forces. Smaller ships acted as decoys, drawing enemy fire while larger vessels maneuvered into position to deliver decisive blows. Cloaked destroyers snuck behind enemy lines, targeting supply ships and communication relays. Every move was calculated, every action designed to stretch the Dominion thin and expose their vulnerabilities. The gambit paid off. By dawn, the Black Armada had achieved what many thought impossible. They had crippled a significant portion of the Dominion fleet. Alien ships drifted lifelessly in orbit, their once imposing forms reduced to smoldering wreckage. Survivors scrambled to retreat, abandoning their posts in disarray. For the first time, the invaders showed signs of fear. They had come expecting an easy victory, only to find themselves locked in a brutal struggle against an opponent they had grossly underestimated. But even as the Black Armada celebrated its hard-won success, the cost of the battle weighed heavily on everyone involved. Casualties were inevitable, both among the human crews and the civilian populations below. Cities had been damaged during the initial stages of the invasion, and countless lives had been lost. Yet despite the losses, there was a sense of pride. a recognition that humanity had risen to meet the challenge head-on. In the aftermath of the engagement, leaders convened to assess the situation. While the Black Armada had proven its worth, they knew the fight was far from over. Reinforcements were on the way, and the Dominion wouldn't give up easily. But for now, humanity had bought itself some breathing room and a chance to prepare for what lay ahead. As the surviving ships regrouped and tended to repairs, the commander stood silently, gazing out at the stars. Behind them lay Earth, battered but still standing. Ahead loomed the unknown, filled with dangers yet unseen. But one thing was certain: humanity had drawn first blood, and in doing so, it had sent a message loud and clear, not just to the Dominion, but to the entire galaxy. Earth wasn't going down without a fight. The victory of the Black Armada's first engagement was short-lived. While humanity celebrated the initial success, the strategists knew better than to rest on their laurels. The Dominion wasn't a force that accepted defeat lightly. Their losses had been significant, but they still held the advantage in numbers, and reinforcements were en route. Intelligence reports confirmed that a massive mothership was approaching Earth, carrying enough firepower to turn the tide of the battle decisively in their favor. If humanity wanted to survive, it needed to act fast, and it needed to act decisively. Back aboard the flagship of the Black Armada, the commander stared at star charts and tactical displays, weighing options. Every decision carried risks, and every move could mean life or death for billions. The fleet had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with the Dominion, but facing an enemy this size required more than just skill. It demanded innovation, sacrifice, and sheer audacity. With time running out, the commander made a bold call: unleash the full might of the Black Armada. No holding back. No half measures. It was time to show the Dominion what humanity was truly capable of. At the heart of the Black Armada lay its crown jewel, a colossal dreadnought known only as Eclipse. Unlike the other ships in the fleet, Eclipse wasn't designed for speed or agility. It was built for one purpose: destruction. Its centerpiece was the Eclipse cannon, a super weapon so powerful it could destabilize entire star systems. Firing it came with risks. Using such immense energy could overload the ship's reactors. But the potential payoff was worth it. If aimed correctly, the cannon could obliterate multiple Dominion vessels in a single shot, buying humanity precious time to regroup and prepare for the next phase of the fight. As preparations began, engineers worked around the clock to ensure Eclipse was ready for deployment. Power conduits were reinforced, cooling systems triple-checked, and targeting arrays calibrated to pinpoint accuracy. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet positioned itself strategically, forming a protective barrier around the dreadnought. Every ship played a role, from smaller escorts acting as decoys to larger cruisers providing covering fire. This wasn't just a battle plan, it was a symphony of coordination, each note carefully orchestrated to maximize impact. When the Dominion reinforcements arrived, they brought with them a sense of inevitability. Their mothership dwarfed everything else in orbit, a hulking monstrosity bristling with weapons and shield generators. Surrounding it were dozens of support vessels, each armed to the teeth. To the untrained eye, it seemed like an unstoppable force. But the crew of the Black Armada saw something else, a target too big to miss. The battle began with a flurry of activity. Dominion fighters swarmed toward the human fleet, attempting to overwhelm them with sheer numbers. Plasma bolts and laser beams crisscrossed the void, lighting up the darkness with bursts of color. Pilots aboard the Black Armada's ships executed daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy fire with precision honed by hours of training. Every dodge, every counterattack was a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Amidst the chaos, Eclipse remained silent, biding its time. The dreadnought hung back, shielded by the rest of the fleet as engineers completed final checks on the cannon. The tension aboard the ship was palpable. Crew members exchanged nervous glances, knowing that firing the weapon would be a gamble. If it worked, it could turn the tide of the battle. If it failed, the consequences would be catastrophic. Finally, the moment came. The Dominion mothership loomed closer, its massive frame blotting out the stars behind it. Shields shimmered around it, impenetrable to conventional weapons. But Eclipse wasn't conventional. As the order was given, the cannon charged, emitting a low hum that resonated through the ship. Energy crackled along its surface, building to a crescendo. Then with a deafening roar, the beam fired. For a brief moment, everything seemed to stop. The beam sliced through space like a blade, cutting through the Dominion shields as if they didn't exist. When it struck the mothership, the explosion was blinding, a supernova of light and heat that engulfed the surrounding area. Chunks of debris tumbled into the void as the once mighty vessel collapsed in on itself, reduced to nothing more than floating wreckage. Cheers erupted across the fleet as the surviving Dominion ships scrambled to retreat. But the fight wasn't over yet. Even without their mothership, the Dominion still outnumbered the Black Armada. What followed was a brutal slugfest, with both sides exchanging blows in a desperate bid for dominance. Human ships darted through the battlefield, exploiting gaps in the enemy's formation while avoiding retaliatory fire. Quantum disruptors created localized distortions, throwing Dominion fighters off course and giving the Black Armada a crucial edge. Cloaking devices allowed ships to vanish and reappear at opportune moments, striking where the enemy least expected. Despite their resilience, the Dominion refused to surrender. They fought with a ferocity born of desperation, knowing that failure meant disgrace and possibly extermination at the hands of their own leaders. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The battle dragged on, testing the limits of both fleets. Crews aboard the Black Armada pushed themselves to the breaking point, operating on adrenaline and sheer willpower. Exhaustion set in, but so did resolve. No one wanted to be the one who let humanity down. Back on Earth, the struggle played out in real time. News outlets broadcast live footage of the conflict, showing flashes of light and trails of smoke against the backdrop of the night sky. People gathered in streets and parks, staring upward as if hoping to catch a glimpse of the ships themselves. Social media buzzed with updates, honor prayers, and messages of support for the brave men and women fighting above. In schools, workplaces, and homes, conversations turned to the Black Armada, not just as a fleet of warships, but as a symbol of hope and defiance. As the hours passed, the tide of the battle began to shift. The Dominion's forces, stretched thin and demoralized by the loss of their mothership, started to falter. Ships retreated in disarray, abandoning their posts rather than face the relentless assault of the Black Armada. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity held the upper hand. The invaders, who had come expecting an easy victory, found themselves outmatched by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Yet even as the Black Armada pressed its advantage, the cost of the battle weighed heavily on everyone involved. Casualties mounted, both among the human crews and the civilian populations below. Cities bore the scars of earlier attacks, and countless lives had been lost. But despite the losses, there was a sense of pride, a recognition that humanity had risen to meet the challenge head-on. Ordinary people had become heroes, stepping up when their world needed them most. In the aftermath of the engagement, the commander of the Black Armada stood silently, gazing out at the stars. Behind them lay Earth, battered but still standing. Ahead loomed the unknown, filled with dangers yet unseen. But one thing was certain: humanity had proven itself capable of greatness. Against all odds, they had stood firm, refusing to bow to tyranny. And in doing so, they had sent a message loud and clear, not just to the Dominion, but to the entire galaxy. Earth wasn't going down without a fight. The final chapter of humanity's stand against the Dominion began not with a bang, but with a quiet sense of resolve. The Black Armada had done the unthinkable. It had driven back the invaders, crippled their fleet, and forced them to retreat. But victory wasn't declared just yet. The Dominion still lingered in orbit, regrouping and licking their wounds. They weren't ready to admit defeat, and neither was humanity ready to let its guard down. What followed was a battle of wills, a test of endurance that would determine the fate of Earth and perhaps the galaxy itself. As the remnants of the Dominion fleet hovered above the planet, strategists aboard the Black Armada knew they couldn't afford to give the enemy time to recover. Every second counted. Reinforcements could arrive at any moment, tipping the scales back in favor of the invaders. To prevent this, the human fleet launched a relentless assault, keeping the pressure on and denying the Dominion any opportunity to regroup. Smaller ships darted through the battlefield like hornets, harassing larger vessels and picking off stragglers. Meanwhile, Eclipse, the dreadnought armed with the superweapon, remained on standby, ready to deliver another devastating blow if needed. But the fight wasn't just happening in space. Back on Earth, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to secure the mysterious artifact buried deep within the planet's crust. Intelligence reports suggested that the Dominion hadn't given up on retrieving it. If they succeeded, the consequences would be catastrophic. Teams raced against time, are excavating the relic while fortifying the surrounding area with every defensive measure available. Anti-aircraft batteries lined the perimeter, and automated drones patrolled the skies, ensuring no alien forces could breach the site. The stakes were higher than ever. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, it was fighting for its future. Losing the artifact to the Dominion would mean handing them the keys to unimaginable power, something that could doom countless other civilizations across the stars. This realization fueled everyone involved, from soldiers aboard the ships to researchers working underground. It wasn't just about protecting Earth anymore. It was about standing up for all those who couldn't defend themselves. As days turned into weeks, the tide of the battle continued to shift in humanity's favor. The Black Armada's relentless attacks wore down the Dominion's forces, forcing them to make costly mistakes. Alien ships, once sleek and imposing, now bore scars from repeated engagements, burn marks from plasma cannons, gaping holes where shields had failed, and trails of debris left behind as they fled. Morale among the invaders plummeted, replaced by frustration and fear. For the first time, they began to doubt their own superiority. This change in attitude didn't go unnoticed. Intercepted communications revealed growing dissent within the Dominion ranks. Some commanders argued for a full retreat, claiming that Earth wasn't worth the losses. Others demanded reinforcements, vowing to crush humanity once and for all. The internal conflict weakened their cohesion, making them vulnerable to further attacks. Sensing an opportunity, the commander of the Black Armada devised a bold plan, a final, decisive strike aimed at breaking the Dominion's will to fight. The operation, codenamed Operation Eclipse Dawn, called for the entire fleet to converge on the largest remaining Dominion vessel, a command ship responsible for coordinating their efforts. If taken out, it would leave the rest of the fleet leaderless and disorganized. To achieve this, the Black Armada employed every trick in its arsenal. Cloaked destroyers snuck behind enemy lines, disabling communication arrays and cutting off vital supply routes. Smaller escorts acted as decoys, drawing fire away from the main force. And at the center of it all was Eclipse, its cannon charged and ready to unleash hell. When the order came, the attack was swift and merciless. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space, slamming into the command ship's weakened shields. Quantum disruptors created localized distortions, throwing enemy fighters off course and leaving the vessel exposed. Then, with pinpoint accuracy, Eclipse fired its cannon. The beam struck true, tearing through the ship's hull and igniting a chain reaction that consumed it entirely. Explosions rippled outward, engulfing nearby vessels caught in the blast radius. Within minutes, the heart of the Dominion fleet was reduced to smoldering wreckage. The loss of their command ship proved to be the breaking point for the Dominion. Without leadership, their remaining forces descended into chaos. Ships fled in all directions, abandoning their posts rather than face the wrath of the Black Armada. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth's skies were clear. The threat had been neutralized, not eliminated, but pushed far enough away that humanity could breathe easy for the first time in months. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Cities erupted in celebration as people poured into the streets, waving flags and cheering for the heroes who had saved their world. Fireworks lit up the night sky, painting it with colors brighter than the stars themselves. Social media buzzed with messages of gratitude and admiration for the brave men and women aboard the Black Armada. In schools, workplaces, and homes, conversations turned to the future, not just what lay ahead for Earth, but how humanity's actions might inspire others across the galaxy. Yet amidst the celebrations, there was also reflection. The cost of victory weighed heavily on everyone involved. Countless lives had been lost, both among the human crews and the civilian populations below. Cities bore the scars of earlier attacks, and families mourned loved ones who would never return. But even in grief, there was pride, a recognition that humanity had risen to meet the challenge head-on. Ordinary people had become heroes, stepping up when their world needed them most. For the commander of the Black Armada, the aftermath brought a mix of emotions. Relief, certainly, but also a deep sense of responsibility. Humanity had proven itself capable of greatness, but it had also learned hard lessons about the dangers lurking beyond the stars. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, filled with threats that could emerge at any moment. If Earth wanted to survive, it couldn't afford to grow complacent. The Black Armada had secured a reprieve, but the work of defending the planet was far from over. In the weeks that followed, leaders convened to discuss the next steps. The artifact buried beneath Earth's surface was secured, its secrets locked away until humanity could fully understand its potential. Scientists began studying the technology recovered from the Dominion fleet, hoping to unlock new advancements that could further protect the planet. Meanwhile, plans were drawn up to expand the Black Armada, transforming it from a desperate contingency into a permanent line of defense. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, and it intended to keep it. But perhaps the greatest legacy of the Black Armada wasn't its weapons or its victories. It was the unity it inspired. For the first time in history, nations set aside their differences and worked together toward a common goal. Resources were shared, knowledge pooled, and sacrifices made without hesitation. The spirit of cooperation forged during the crisis laid the foundation for a new era of global collaboration. Together, humanity vowed to ensure that it would never again find itself unprepared for the dangers lurking beyond the stars. As the Black Armada's ships returned to their underwater bases, they carried with them more than just memories of battle. They represented resilience, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit of humankind. Their legacy endured long after the war ended, serving as a reminder that even in the face of insurmountable odds, courage and determination could shine brightest. And so, Earth entered a new chapter in its history, not as victims, but as victors. When the galaxy had learned a valuable lesson, never underestimate the resolve of a species willing to fight for its future.